At de Havilland Aircraft in Toronto, test pilots and engineers are seeing the result of an experiment they shared with hundreds of trappers, miners, pilots, and prospectors who work far from city lights and factory noises. They call it the Busy Beaver.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and this is part 2 of the Dora Wings Beaver. Before we get into today's build, let's take a look at where things stood before the tragic event, which I'll get into later. Dora Wings provides a solid piece of clear plastic that includes the windscreen, ensuring a crisp, clean edge to the window frame. That's a great design choice. But now we move on to my least favorite part of aircraft modeling: photo-etch seatbelts. This is part 17. Part 15 and 16. They're a necessary evil. Yes, they add fantastic detail, but they also bring their fair share of frustration. After cutting them from the fret, I cleaned up the attachment points before moving on to the next step. Folding a section of the belt to simulate the way the straps thread through a buckle. It's a small detail, but one that enhances realism. Now, I'd love to tell you everything went smoothly from here, but that would be a lie. The reality is I should have followed the instructions properly, and I learned the hard way. The instructions clearly indicate that the seatbelt should be attached before mounting the seats onto their leg supports. Instead, I thought I could install them after gluing in the seats. Turns out that was a bad idea. Trying to fit the belts into place with the seats already attached was frustrating, and ultimately, I had to cut the seats off the floor to fix the problem. It wasn't a disaster, but it was an unnecessary hassle that could have been avoided entirely if I had simply done things in the right order. So, if you're building this kit, install the seat belts first while the seats are still free. You'll save yourselves a lot of frustration. To shape the brass, I did some annealing, which helps with bending. Again, had I done this before attaching the seat legs, the whole process would have been smoother. I used CA glue to attach the belts. But as many of you know, photo etch and plastic don't always form the strongest bond. Any lateral stress can break that connection. As I shape the annealed brass into place, my plan is to paint everything once it's secured. But as you'll see, things don't stay where I want them. As I shaped the annealed brass, I thought I had it under control. The plan was to paint everything once it was in place, but that didn't go as planned either. I ended up breaking the small tab that folds over the back of the seat because I moved it too many times. That's the problem with metal fatigue. Photo etch doesn't give you unlimited chances. At this point, I was already regretting how I approached this step. And I wouldn't blame Dora Wings for this. It's not really an issue with the kit itself. I should have followed the instructions correctly from the start. Had I attached the seat belts first, I wouldn't have had to deal with all these unnecessary setbacks. Gotta clean the carbon off. We need 2. Bend that over. So I annealed this. There seems to be a little mark there where you're supposed to put the seatbelt, I'm guessing. So I'm going to leave that up like that and paint it, and then I'll bend it over. So then we got this one too. So I'm going to anneal it. And then I'll clean the carbon off. And then came another mistake. When it was time to install the lap seats, I followed the instructions, which tell you to glue them onto the side of the seat. But being a complete newbie on this kit, I glued the wrong end of the seat belt. That meant peeling it off and redoing the entire process. Well, I'm having a great day. Actually, I think this square part should be, yeah. So that's what we're gonna do. The square part is in the lap, and then this other little part, which is similar to number 15. I think those are like, there would be like little pins on the seat that those go on. All right, well, I wish I could start this kit over again, but I'll give you a clue. Put these seat belts on before you glue them into the airplane, number one. Number two, there's a little hole here that you can put a pin through. Like if you take the seats, drill a hole, insert a piece of wire or something that is the same diameter as this hole, you will have a really nice attachment point. You know, I'm just sort of getting to know this kit, and that's what I would have done next time. I'm gonna take this out. Okay, now that I know what's going on, I should be able to do a better job. The glue is not holding. Back at the beginning here. So yeah, there's a lot more cleanup than I suspected. Like there's a mold line here. I wasn't sure what that was. That needs to get taken right out. Just get rid of that mold line. All right, so we're gonna tear this apart, which is a good thing. So now I think what we're gonna do. Another issue, there was a slight molded ridge on the seat, on the side. And at first, I wasn't sure if it was part of the structure or just extra material. I suspect that sanding it flat would have improved the bond, but the best solution would still have been using a pin for reinforcement. Looking back, I realize I should have done something entirely different. Instead of simply gluing a flat piece of metal onto a flat piece of plastic, I should have drilled a small hole in the side of the seat and inserted a pin for the belt to anchor onto. Yeah, that'll go. This would have provided a much stronger bond. Just having the belt glued directly onto the seat meant that the moment I bent it into position, it popped right off. All right. Yeah, there you go. All right, so stick that in there, and we can put that on there, and now it won't break off at the slightest thing, you know? Later on, when dealing with the main seatbelt shoulder straps, I actually did something similar, securing them far more effectively by overlapping the photo etch with plastic. The extra security made a world of difference, and honestly, I should have done the same for the lap belts from the start. At this point, you might be shaking your head and wondering why I made this harder than it needed to be. Trust me, I was asking myself the same question. Photo etch seat belts have always been my least favorite thing to work with, and this experience reminded me why. There are 4 lap belts in total, and they are mirrored for the left and right sides. You need to be careful when installing them to avoid mixing them up. All right. How can we do the other one? All right, I'm just going to use a little Tamiya cement. Hopefully that'll help it stay in place until I can do what I need to do. So I've got some plastic strip here, and cut a little bit off, and then I'm going to put that on the back of the seat. I don't know. Let's make that a little smaller. But honestly, my biggest mistake wasn't the order I was gluing things in. It was thinking I could assemble everything first and paint it all after. That plan completely fell apart. Next time, I'll know better. And speaking of next time, I'm already eyeing the upcoming float plane version of this kit. Despite the setbacks, this Dora Wings release is a massive improvement over the old hobbycraft Beaver I built years ago for a retirement gift. That build didn't go smoothly. I ran into so many issues, I had nothing to hand in at the end. Thankfully, this Dora Wings kit is a massive improvement over the ancient hobbycraft release. Despite the challenges, I think the end result will be well worth it. At least with this kit, I know I'll finish it. And next time, I won't make the same mistakes. So, if you're building this kit, take my advice. Follow the instructions. Attach the seat belts before you attach the seats to their legs and to the floor. Consider reinforcing them with a pin instead of relying on glue alone. Tackle the belts before adding the seat legs to avoid unnecessary frustration. I hope my missteps help you avoid the same pitfalls. Scale modeling is full of little lessons. At least now I know exactly how I do it differently next time. Hopefully you do too. I'll be keeping this segment brief because honestly, I'm not thrilled how I filmed it. So you got to be careful with the photo etch, and it can fatigue where the folds are. If you fold it too many times. Yeah, there you go. So that one broke. So I'm gonna have to make my own little strap. I apologize to Dora Wings because I guess this is just down to my style of building, and maybe other people won't have the same sort of thoughts about how to go about doing this, but this is how I'm doing it. And for me to go forward, I have to repair this. So, maybe that's too short. I think that's too short. We'll make a longer one, I guess. You can see here where the belts are finally in place, but the struggle to get to this point is one I'd rather not repeat. Well, there you have it, a masterclass in what not to do when installing photo-etch seatbelts. Hopefully, my missteps save you some frustration if you're tackling this kit yourself. At the end of the day, mistakes happen, lessons get learned, and the build keeps moving forward. So there you go. I fixed that. Despite the setbacks, this Dora Wings DHC-2 Beaver is shaping up to be a solid kit, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all comes together. And yeah, I'll probably be back for round 2 when the float plane version drops, hopefully with fewer headaches. If you've got tips, tricks, or maybe just a good laugh at my expense, drop a comment down below. I always appreciate hearing from you all. In the meantime, and in between time, that's another edition of Jet Scale Models. Y'all come back now, you hear?
All right, I'm gonna go repaint these.